Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Eric Altman, sales engineer with Vodia Networks. And today we're going to talk about Vodia PBX version 67.0. Talk about the new features, improvements, and enhancement available in this version, and why everyone should upgrade when they can. Let's dive right in. First off, new SMS providers have been added to the PBX. Users can send a business SMS externally from the user portal, the desktop app, or the mobile apps. The first providers we supported for this were Bandwidth, Telnix, Twilio, and Intelliquent. And we're now supporting more SIP trunk providers that work with the Vodia PBX for sending SMS from the business. And those include a Simple Get, Vox Telesis, Spark New Zealand, Quest Blue, and VoIP Innovations. SMS providers can now be set up for each domain separately on a multi-tenant system. Another thing that we've worked on in version 67 are recording permissions. They were a little confusing before, so now there's a setting that controls what recordings an extension can access, and another setting that controls what the extension can do with the recordings. Just listen, modify and edit the notes, and delete. The screenshot shown in this slide can be accessed from a domain extension under the Permissions tab. Ringtones. So the administrator can now easily upload ringtones on the system and domain level through the web interface and give them names. The ring melodies can also be played from the web front end before assigning them. The ringtone mapping for some phone models has been redone. The custom ringtone entries were dropped. If there's no ringtone assigned to a group, the PBX now uses either the internal or external ringtone. With paging, we've added a new API that can trigger the readout of arbitrary text. SIP, desktop, and paging units can now be used with Google Text-to-Speech using REST API. The prompts are downloaded and cached, which means the PBX does not need to fetch the same prompt again. Some of the industries that can benefit from this are universities and schools, factories, and hospitals and clinics. And some of the paging units that can be used with text-to-speech come from Cyberdata, Viking Electronics, Algo Solutions, and SNOM PA. The address book backend API was redesigned so that searches will list the entries in a sorted order, even for the first page. It also includes the extensions by default now. This can be turned off on the extension and domain level. This helps finding other extensions on the app, even if they're not on the page that you're looking at. ACD. So before adding an agent to the agent pool of an ACD during the login, the PBX needs to check if that agent is already in a pool. And there are some new rules that can now assign different colors to a call. For example, after ringing for too long. A new rule was added so that talking for too long can also change the color of a call. When the ACD automatically generates address book entries, those entries are no longer in the domain. Instead, they're kept in the ACD scope. This avoids filling up that domain address book with entries that are hard to understand for a lot of other users. A Fanvil update. Newer software for some XU models are using different names for the buttons, so we've updated support for that. Also, the location for the time zone information seems to have changed. The models X6U, X7A, X1S, X1SP, and X3SP were all added. And with Fanvil phones, you can always count on fast provisioning, especially through the Fanvil RPS, the remote provisioning server. For the Yealink phones, the Yealink button mode could not include special characters previously. Now it can. We added support for SNI indication for SIP in the newer Yealink firmware versions. We added more models, for example, the T26P, and support for the EXP43. That's an expansion sidecar. And now anything that's added in the Yealink general field will be included in the general parameter in the provisioning template. Support for the German-based Auerswald phones was improved, for example, by supporting speed dial and ringtone support, and there's more to come soon. With Polyphones, the automatic switching to secure provisioning protocol was not working as it should. Now, phones don't often need to register with TLS, but if they do, that's supported and working now. This is a big one. We support two-factor authentication now. For the login, the administrator can require users to use a second factor to log in. Currently available are email and SMS as the second factor, as long as the user has an email address set up and/or a cell phone number on the account. As part of this new feature, also users can log in and request password resets with their email address in addition to their extension number. The internal indexing for the certificates was using only the common name, which could cause certain certificates to get overwritten, especially the certificate for the Google Speech Services was affected. So the new version uses a combined index to avoid this problem. After the upgrade, system administrators might have to use the reset button to update the certificate list. And also the default built-in certificate for local host and the default root CA were updated. SIP trunk provider Easybell sends different formats for the called party depending on the account type. So the PBX now handle this automatically. The PBX can now show the provisioning password and PIN in clear text from the web interface if those were automatically generated. If the administrator has assigned those values, the PBX will not show them. And what this does, it avoids a common problem in new installations that phones are provisioned with unknown passwords, which makes an extra provisioning step necessary just to get into the web interface of the phone. So now you can actually see those passwords and pins. A hint was added to the web interface when email's not set up. So when you open that up, there were some cases when the domain email did not override the system email settings. And some email programs didn't use the 24-hour format, which was set in the system. But these things are all now fixed in version 67. And like I said, there'll be a hint when you log in that the email hasn't been set up yet. In order to not overwhelm the front end, a maximum number of 256 MAC addresses are stored in the system now for VoIP phone discovery. And long lists of extensions are now loaded in pages, and that's going to reduce the overhead for the server, giving you a better web experience. With the PCAP files, when recording a lot of short packets, the internal flushing could end up dropping packets. This was creating confusing PCAP files. The web interface now shows which extensions have PCAP recording turned on. Eliminate some of that confusion. Zoho integration is now completed. Callback URLs still need to be added by us for now until we make that an automatic process. So what that means is that for Zoho integration, you need to send Vodia the URL or FQDN of the domain, which we'll send to Zoho, and within 24 hours, your customer will have full integration with Zoho. Salesforce through REST API is done and works. Also on an incoming call, the contact pops up on the PBX user portal after a lookup of incoming numbers in the Salesforce contacts. So we got screen pops going on there as well. There's now a conference button on the desktop app that works to bridge two calls together. A cosmetic UI to display the participants nicely is something that's coming soon. So we've got the button in there. We'll have the display of the participants coming soon. So some new things with the Android app. Later on in this webinar series, we're going to have a webinar focused solely on the Android app. But for now, some of the new things are an updated user interface, updated action selection view, transfer calls functionality has been added. You can see the slide that you can, on the slide, you can transfer to extensions, anyone in the address book, just dial a number, or to any held call that you have. Other things, handling of native calls when already in a call on the app, and handling of an app call when already in a native GSM call. That's all handled well now, as well as the handling of emergency calls according to the phone system setting. And some of the new improvements in the Windows desktop app include user interface matching the PBX version mechanism for improved compatibility, code optimization for a faster app response, CDR level notes, domain and admin level customization of the Windows app through .css, the address book lookup from the homepage search field, an option to return to the login screen if the PBX server is unresponsive. You can now hit F5 to reload the app. And the address book will now show company and position fields. On the web user portal, there's now a forgot password button. So you can set a new password when logging in with the temporary password. And access to the web front end can now be limited on a per user basis. Here are some links. We'll be publishing this slide presentation so that these are clickable links to get to the Microsoft Store for Business, which we're now listed on. So you can get right to that with this top link. And then there's some documentation for managing Microsoft apps. So if you've got other Microsoft apps, there's just some documentation giving you some tips on managing those apps properly. Something we're supporting with version 67 is Easy on Hold. The Easy on Hold stream, it opens a world of music on hold options in Vodia. You've got a what and a why here. You've got hit music by popular artists, low-cost stock instrumental music, custom voice recordings, content that you or your clients provide. Why? There's no more default music. Stop handling those audio files. Customers have control via the Easy on Hold customer portal. Huge variety of licensed content. So for the ultimate caller experience, you've got Easy on Hold now integrating with Vodia. And just a little sneak peek on what's coming very soon, version 67.0.1. Some of the things affixed so that the subscription duration doesn't confuse certain VoIP phones. This way, there'll be no loss of MWI and feature event subscriptions. The address book redirecting calls in the ACD and Hunt group based on the address book didn't work, but 67.0.1 fixes that. User buttons, the user couldn't change the buttons from the front end because of an issue with permissions. That'll be fixed in this version. Flying voice, we'll have flying voice provisioning files will be added. And the midnight emails, the emails that contain the graphs for the previous day, they didn't include the system name in the subject header previously, but they will going forward. All right. As always, we're here to help. If you have any support inquiries, you can send that request to support@vodia.com. We also recommend to get the fastest service, open up a ticket. Those tickets can be opened up at vodia.zamad.com. You should all have the link and know the link to documentation, doc.vodia.com. We recently updated that, so nicer interface, better searching, all of that. If you do the /software, that's going to take you to the place where you can download the software for Linux, Windows, or Mac. And then onboarding contact, that would be sales@vodia.com. So feel free to send a message if it's anything that's sales related. And that's what I got for you today. Those are the release notes for 67.0. Hopefully this was beneficial. Let me jump over to any questions that we have. Make sure that those were all answered here. Let me just kind of go through this. I'm going to scroll on up and see what we got. Some good mornings and afternoons. All right. Somebody's asking if they can get a recording for today's session. Yes, we'll be posting this for sure on YouTube as well as our blog. Looks like that. Someone's asking about Android Park button. Not there yet. You know, a lot of things coming soon. Obviously, the apps are work in progress. Intended transfer from the web app. I believe I'm looking at the attended transfer from the web app. I believe you can do that just by making the separate call and then using the conference button and drop off. I'm just thinking out of the box here. I don't believe there's an actual button for it yet, though. Someone's asking about support for pre-Android 10. That's a Google thing or the Play Store, that it has to be 10 or higher. There's a possibility that we could potentially get you the APK for a version that's under 10. So contact our support if you've got that going on. App on the iPhone is working as intended, so that's, you know, something I think with iPhone and Apple, it's never easy, but I think we've got that thing working just fine now, as good as the Android or better. Let's see. Exporting the address book, that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that. Hoping maybe one of my other engineers might chime in on that. I believe the client app version number is 3.5.5. At least that's the one that I've been running. Address book, I believe, is fixed on the phone now. It's fixed everywhere. Let's see. All right, that looks to be the questions that I've seen here. If I didn't answer the question, you can always contact our support. They should have the answers ready and available. You can either call them 617-861-3490 and option 2, or just send them a quick email at support@vodia.com. And I think that's going to do it for today. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Thanks for coming for the first in our webinar series. As you probably all know, we've got a bunch more over the next few months, a lot of exciting ones. We've got guest speakers and companies. So hopefully you can join us for those as well as others. And again, yeah, the slide deck's going to be available. I just saw that pop up from Michael. And we'll be putting this webinar on YouTube as well. So as far as somebody is asking, so before I go, any plan on video for the future? You know, we've kind of tossed to that back and forth. So I can't give you definites on that, but we do realize that it's important. At the same time, it's not really a function of the PBX. It's a whole different ball game. So something that we most likely will be doing this year at some point, but I can't give you any definite dates on doing video calling. But we're definitely looking at it. Fax, somebody's asking about. Yes, we're working on that as well. I'm thinking possibly even 67.0.2 or a very soon version to come. We'll not only be doing the inbound faxing that we've always done to PDF, but you'll be able to actually do outbound faxing as well. So that's something that that we're working on, and I think is very near complete and will be part of one of our next builds. All right. No more questions popping up, so I think we're good for now. Like I said, feel free to contact me. Extension 451 on that phone number, or support at vodia.com, ea@vodia.com. And I appreciate everybody's time today. Again, have a great day. Thank you.